Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's July the 10th, and time is fast approaching. Orlando is just around the corner, literally just a couple of weeks away now, which is crazy to think that it's coming up so fast. And of course, we have a flurry of other events coming thereafter. If you haven't booked your tickets to Orlando or your hotel rooms, again, a quick reminder, if you want to get some free Nikken European jewelry, and you're going to Orlando, then you can get your hands on that by booking at the venue via our website, orlandosummit.net. Please be sure to jump on there and book your hotel rooms sooner rather than later. And of course, moving on from there, we have other events that are happening as well. We've got San Antonio in November. Prior to that, we've got the Humans Being More event in Toronto, which is going to be great, hosted by Botanis and Mike DiMuccio. I'm looking forward to going to Niagara Falls as well, as a side note, one of the perks of that trip, which will be great. So lots of great things happening in the business, and of course, great and exciting enhancements to our business as we go as well. So some really exciting things that will be announced at these events for us to sink our teeth into and to have reason to get more excited and to do more with our business. I want to start by sharing a story. And maybe you've even experienced this yourself. It's a true story, of course, but it's one that I think many of us will relate to. A lady was walking to her car that was parked in a car park, and not too far from her car, she saw a little baby bird that had been blown out of its nest the night before. There'd been a storm. The strong winds had blown it out of its nest and had landed on the floor, and the poor little thing was lying there with just a few feathers on its body. That's just how young it was, just awaiting whatever fate had in store for it. As she looked at the little bird, just a few days old, she could tell it was just a little regular sparrow. But she felt sympathy for it. So she scooped it up, she took it back home and thought, I'm going to take care of this little bird and nurse it back to life and give it some strength and a hope. So that's what she did. She brought the little bird home. She made a little makeshift nest for it out of a little, some tissues and a little basket. And a number of times throughout the day, she would take time to feed the little bird. After a few days, it opened its eyes for the first time and was able to see this wonderful carer that had taken this little bird under its wing. As time moved on, they were able to transfer this little bird out of its nest into a bird cage, and its confidence began to grow, and it would start to chirp and to flap its wings when it was ready for something to eat. And they would open up the bird's cage door, and it would hop out onto her hand, and she would be able to feed the bird right there in her own hand. Again, time develops and evolves, and they recognize that it's time for this little bird to learn how to fly. They take it outside into the garden, and they give this little baby sparrow its first few flying lessons, which it does a few little laps of the garden, and then always enthusiastically came right back to its owner and would perch on her hand and await its next meal. And they just fell in love. They became very, very fond of the little chirping sounds that this bird would make that would add music to their home, and the care that they had for each other was something quite sweet. The lady had a daughter who was going on summer camp, and they didn't know what to do with the bird while they were away. So they thought, we'll bring the bird with us, and maybe this could be a place where we could set the bird free. It'll be out in the mountain ranges. It'll be a beautiful place for this bird to fly free. Maybe this is the time. So they brought the bird with them on summer camp and would attempt to set the bird free, but lo and behold, it would keep on coming back, and it would circle back home, come back, perch on their arm, and just didn't quite like to leave their side. The little bird had grown to trust the voice, the sound, the touch of these two wonderful human beings that had decided to take care of her. So they ended up returning from summer camp with this bird. Eventually, yes, the bird flew the coop, so to speak, but it always stayed nearby. It was always in a nearby tree. They could always hear its chirping not too far away. And whilst it had the whole world as its future home, it always circled back to this place that it referred to now as its home, this place where it felt like it belonged, this place where it had trust. So why do I share this story today? I want to talk about one of the critical skills that we can develop in Nikan. I'm going to share a slide, and I want to ask you a question as I share this slide. It's a very basic slide, so bear with me on the simplicity of its graphics. This is called the wealth triangle. Can you see that okay? So this wealth triangle on one side has high income skill. On the other side, scalable business. And on another side, high return on investments. Now, our objective in Nikan, when it comes to our financial pillar, is not just to become financially independent or financially secure or financially well off, but to maintain that status. We don't want to have that for a moment. We want to have it throughout the rest of our lives. How do we do that? Well, this is kind of where it begins. Many of us fall prey to jumping to this side of the triangle here and going, if I jump into Nikan, I've got a scalable business. I don't need high levels of investment. I don't need investors where I forfeit maybe ownership in my business. I don't have high outgoing costs. I don't need to buy another premises if I'm going to expand. If I was to buy a franchise, for example, or run my own restaurant, it doesn't have these economies of scale that transfer as I expand out. So maybe this is my starting point. And many people will jump into the business and expect to have a scalable income without having first developed the fundamental part here, which is on the left. What is my high income skill? Now, many of us will join Nikan with a certain set of skills. Maybe we are already educators, lawyers, professionals, nurses. We've got people in these professions on the call right now. Maybe we have other skilled people that are builders, that are homemakers, that are community support workers, that are architects, ministers, you name it. There are a host of different skills that many of us bring with us into the business. But many people come into the business because whilst we have a set of skills, we can't necessarily define them as high income skills. These are skills where we might be trading time for money, as we've talked about in the cash flow quadrant, but we're not necessarily trading time for good money. Hence, we move into the Nikan environment. So I want you to think for a moment and ask yourself, in the context of Nikan, what would you define as a high income skill that, when you master it and then apply it to the scalable business of our compensation plan, it gives you the potential for a significant increase in income? What would you say that high income skill might be? I'm going to stop the screen share for just a minute. You may want to take a screenshot if you're on your computer. I will come back to it if you ask me to, but I'm going to stop the screen share for just a moment and then come back to the Zoom page and ask you what you think the high income skills are. We've got Bob Richmond says, listening to what your customer really needs and then attempting to meet that need. That's a great one. Listening is a powerful skill, isn't it? Ruth Lowe, a critical one. Connie Livingston saying exactly the same thing. Follow-up. We've heard it said many times, haven't we? Fortune is in the follow-up.
Recruiting.
Oh, someone said something then. What would you say?
Recruiting.
Recruiting, yeah. Recruiting, of course, if we don't have new people in our business, then our business will dry up pretty fast, won't it? Madeline, you put a good one there. Contact and invite 10 new people a day and listen. Again, that word listen coming in loud and clear. Wouldn't you say that this principle, I started out by sharing a story here about trust, that if we were to integrate that principle of trust not just that we are trustworthy, but we create an environment around us that people can come to us and see us as a place where they can feel loyal, feel a sense of belonging, feel a sense of trust, like that little bird that had the chance to go anywhere else in the context of business, metaphorically speaking, to find its home, to find its nest, to find its friends or its place where it felt its future lay. But it always returned home to that one family. What was it that that family did that kept that little bird coming back? What is it that we do that keeps our customers coming back, or our business partners staying with us, or our new people coming? Linda Morris has put here master networking. Linda, maybe you can unmute yourself for just a second and elaborate on that, because I think you said something there that's quite interesting. What do you mean, Linda, by master networking?
It's not about going to networking events, but becoming known for walking your talk, being authentic, always being faithful. Everybody knows. I mean, I have customers that I've had for 20 years, and they know that when they come to me, I'm going to do what I can to be of service to them and recommend and suggest things that will truly help them and their family.
Yeah.
And I'm known for that in this area. People, I mean, in all walks of my life, people will reach out to me. Hey, I need help with this. Hey, can you bring that? What do you recommend for this? So I've become known to be that, but I'm not pushy, and they know that.
Yeah, I like that, because what you're demonstrating there is being very centered on the other person. It's not about what's in it for me. It's about what's in it for them, isn't it? And we had a great meeting in the UK last week. You may have seen some of the pictures I posted on Facebook, or maybe some of the others that had shared them. We had a good friend of mine, Dave Butler, who we go back together many years now in networking, and he was a part of one of the biggest network marketing teams that I've seen in the UK. In their heyday, they would have 30 to 40,000 people at their team event 3 times a year in England, not in the United States of America, which is the land of opportunity, the place that has this great American dream. There is no great British dream. It doesn't exist, right? We're pessimists by nature. We have gray clouds, and if it's not raining, it's because it's about to, and that's kind of the way we see the world. But in this environment, they'd done 30 to 40,000 people at an event, and they would average about 300 team meetings a month based on the size of their group, just all these different events going on. But one of the things that he talked about kind of leans to what you were saying, Linda, about the 3 different ways. Let me refer you to my notes here. He said there's different types of posture that we need to have in our business. He says that not that we need to have 3 different types of posture that people demonstrate. He says the first one is, I need you, right? I need you. Please, please, please join my business, right? And he says, in that type of posture, he said, is not helpful to your business, because it kind of smacks of desperation. And again, it's all about you. The other one is, it's almost like again, it's still self-serving, but it's you need to check this out and hurry up and do me a favor, because if you pay attention to this, then I'm going to make money off of what you do. Again, it's all about how to fulfill my needs. How can my needs be served by you joining my business? And if we have that kind of posture, what can you do for me? Then we set ourselves up for a fall. He says, but if we have the posture of, you need this, and if you're not interested, that's fine, but what I've got here is something that you need, and then you almost lean back. You're not desperately leaning forward in their face, wanting to shake them because you can make money off them, or because you desperately need them in order to qualify for something. It's I've got something really cool here that you should check out. You really need it. He said that type of posture changes your position with people and can make a significant difference as to how you come across. And that just really leans, I think, to what you were saying there, Linda, about being service-centered, being focused on the other person, meeting their needs, knowing that what we've got for them, what we've got available, is something that is of benefit to them. And as so many people have already said here, listen, 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 ask questions, communication is king. In order to listen and to communicate effectively, to develop their trust, to be approachable, and as Sandra Thornton has said here, to have the courage to speak to strangers, because we value what we've got so much that there's no harm in sharing what we've got with someone that's a stranger. Because again, we are not needing them. We're not doing it because it's all about me. We're sharing it because I think this would be of interest to you. What we've got here could really make a difference. And if you're not interested, hey, that's cool. But I really think it's going to help. You know, that kind of approach changes things so much, doesn't it? So I want to share a couple of other thoughts that he said. As we're approaching people, he said there's something important to consider, that there are 4 groups of people that you'll meet. And I want to share this because it's reassuring to each of us as we learn to identify our high income skills of developing trust with other people. Again, at the heart of developing trust, it's all about serving others. That means, of necessity, if we really dig deep into that as a subject, and I would encourage each of us to take the time, not just this today or this week or this month, but to really invest. That diagram that I had before of high return on investments doesn't just include business investments, it includes investing in us. If you want a high return on the investment in you, we've got to invest in our learning, our education, and ourselves, our own personal development. But let's take the time to understand what it means to develop relationships of trust, because it involves not just being likable, not just being kind, but having courage, using Sandra's words. I love that she used that word courage. Having the courage to speak up, the courage to ask questions, the courage to stop talking and to listen. Yeah, how many of us are afraid of the silence? If we can have the courage to be quiet and speak less and listen more, how much more could we learn? And then how much more good could we do? And then, of course, with that courage, the courage and the confidence to invite people to make and keep commitments and do that very, very lucrative activity of follow-up to help people keep the commitment. Now, in doing this, we can get discouraged from time to time because we own the outcomes sometimes more than we need to. I want to share with you a couple of points here that Dave shared that I thought were kind of neat. He said there are 4 groups of people that you'll meet. He said there are those that won't come to a meeting no matter what. No matter how persuasive you are, no matter how great the meeting's going to be, no matter how valuable it's going to be, there is not anything in the world that is so appealing and so attractive that every single person's going to want to come. So we need to accept that. Not everyone's going to want to come. And that's okay. There will be people that will want to come, but they won't be interested. Now try and get your head around that. Why would they come to a meeting if they're actually not interested? Well, actually, maybe because they just want to belong. And we provide an environment where they can belong very easily. It's easy in and it's easy out. Yeah. And so we accept people on an easy in basis, which means we'll accept all sorts. He shared this wonderful joke. He said, you heard about the person that fell out of the window. Why did they fall out of the window? Well, they were more out than in. Why did the person fall out of the business? Well, they were more out than in. He says, now the challenge that we've got in network marketing is it's easy to get in and therefore it's easy to get out. So we need to make sure that people have more reasons to be in than to be out. Meetings help, but some people want to come along simply for the community. They have their place. We want to welcome them and make sure that they feel their place and that they still belong, but recognize how we prioritize our time and invest it accordingly. He said the last one, the next 2, He says, those that will join, but they won't do anything. And again, we've seen a lot of those people join the business as well, haven't we? We'll recruit a lot of people. They'll come to the meetings and they'll go away full of vigor and enthusiasm, but they won't do anything. And then the last ones, those that will come and work. And of course, we know that those are in the minority. It's the nature of life, isn't it? It's human nature. It's just the predisposition of mankind, I think, to either find the easy way out, easy in, easy out, or to quit after the going gets tough for a little season. But if we can build that relationship of trust, if we can build that confidence, if we can help people see the value and how we are service-centered and how we are focused on their needs, then we can help to retain people in our business, be they customers or distributors, and we can also help to engage them as well. So much of what we do comes back to building relationships of trust, where we are like that lady who found that little fledgling bird lying broken on the floor, and we scoop them up with tenderness. We kind of blow life back into them and look after them and nurture them and care for them. And there's all of those different things that you need to do with someone that, even though you go, that's a grown man or woman, why on earth should I have to do this with them? They should know better. Well, maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. But that's what we need to do anyway sometimes. And as we build that relationship and as we invest in our people, I find that sense of reciprocation always comes back, and we will get it back. But it's important for us, in order to build our business, to know, out of these different groups of people, where do I spend my time? It's almost a paradox, isn't it? That in this people-centered business, when we're so invested in helping others to prosper and succeed and to get balance, that we sometimes need to make difficult judgment calls and say, I don't have the time to work with this person right now. That sounds horrible to think, let alone to vocalize. But we say it and we do it because I want them to succeed more than they want to. And if I want them to succeed more than they want to, they're not going to succeed, because no one ever gets there based on someone else pushing them up the hill. It doesn't work that way. We can't, it's almost, I've heard someone once say, working with my team, it's like pushing butter up a hill on a hot day. And we if we've got that feeling with our team, what is the answer? We've already shared it. Speak to more people, get new people in our business. If we don't have that steady flow of new people coming in, then the small number that we've got that are in but not engaged, that are there but not interested, will become disproportionately important to us, and we will be mollycoddling them and nurturing them when they're not the ones that want life being breathed into them in the first place. Yeah? So it's very, very important that we recognize, of all the skills that we've got, with all the nurturing, with all the loving, with all the kindness and all the compassion and all the support that we give, and all of the conviction, that we need to be able to prioritize our time and spend it with people that want it more than we do for them. We've got to want it more than anyone else for us. I can't want my success less than someone else does. I've got to want it more than anything, because it's my commitment, my emotion, that's going to move me to action, not someone else's. So we need to look at our team and identify who is really serious, who feels it, who wants it sufficiently for me to be able to justify working with them and spending my time with them. So I think I'll just finish perhaps on this point. When it comes back to building our business, the high income activity, I would suggest, I'm going to quote Dave again. He said there are the two biggest mistakes that people make in presenting their business. And this is a guy, like I said, he's got 35 years experience in network marketing, built tens of thousands in his team, had huge success. He says it's either they say too much when they're presenting, or they beg people. It's interesting that, isn't it? We either say too much in our presentation, or we beg people, and we don't want to do either. So an economy of words combined with the right posture of, you need what I have, And if you're interested, I'm here to talk to you. Gives us the right posture and gives us the situation where we can develop the right rapport. And then we can invest our time. As we remember those 4 different groups, those that will not come to anything no matter what, those that will come but won't be interested, those that will come and then do nothing, and those that will come and then work. As we recognize those 4 different groups and we continually sift the wheat from the tares, so to speak, and identify those that are willing to work. And the reason we talk to 10 people a day, the reason we do so many presentations isn't because we're out there trying to recruit 1,000 people, because we're not. It's because we're trying to sift through those different groups of people to find those that are willing to work, and then we invest our time with them and we build our business with them. When we do that and we do it wisely, then we can have great success. So my invitation is to sift, to speak to a lot of people, to filter out those that are interested and those that aren't, those that are willing to work to those that won't, and invest our time and be trustworthy. I loved what Linda said before about being focused on the needs of others and to provide solutions for them so that you become the go-to person when someone has something that they need help with. When we can do that, it'll happen both proactively as a result of our searching, and it will happen organically as a result of the law of attraction and us being the kind of person that we should be. A trustworthy, honorable, high integrity person that is invested in the needs and interests of other people. When we do that and we combine the skill, we start to develop that high income skill that we put into that now scalable business of Nikan, and we can start to develop a scalable income. And we start to get that real growth that we're all aspiring to have. It's available to us. We've got the scalable business. We need to work on the high income skills to apply to that business model so that we can achieve and then maintain that high net worth that we all want to have from a financial perspective. So thank you all very much for being with us today. I hope this has been helpful. I want you all to go away, look at ways that I can develop that trustworthiness and how it ripples into all of these other skills in my armory of talents. Because like I said, it does, if I really am trustworthy, it does mean that I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to ask the difficult questions. I'm going to ask people to make commitments, even if it makes me feel nervous. I'm going to extend invitations. I'm going to follow up on those commitments, even if I'm nervous at what they might say. I'm going to ask them to do certain things, invite them to make commitments, to come to events, to participate in meetings, to get involved in the business. I'll do the tough stuff because I care, because I am a person of integrity, because I do have that trustability, because my interest is not in me, it's in someone else. Remember, and I'll finish on this note, that fear is an inward emotion that is centered on ourselves. Love is an outward emotion that is centered on others. As we learn to let go of fear and learn to love, we will be expressing interest in others and instinctively and naturally become that person of trustworthiness and integrity that people will want to associate with and do business with. That becomes a very high income skill to possess. And isn't it wonderful that that skill is centered on something as beautiful and rewarding as love? I think so, because that's the one of the only things that we bring with us to the next life, knowledge and love. That's one of the things that my mum taught me when I was a kid. We should spend our time developing those 2 things more than anything else, because that's what we bring with us. So thank you for being with us today on the call. Let's go out there, let go of the fear, invest in the love, spend our time with others, and let's make this something really worthwhile to achieve. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.